Hi, I'm Mike Beliveau, and today I'm back at Duelist Den. I'm going to talk about loading and shooting a flintlock rifle. All right, let's talk about powder, because if you're shooting a flintlock rifle, you're going to need to shoot real black powder. In percussion guns or inlines, you can get away with the substitutes, but you really can't in a flint gun because those substitutes mostly have higher ignition points than real black powder, and it's very difficult, really can be impossible sometimes, to set them off with a flintlock. So you're going to need the real thing. There are two predominant brands of powder in this country. There's GoX, which is made in the USA, and there's Swiss, which is made in Switzerland. They're both excellent powders. Unfortunately, these days buying black powder can be difficult. Not every store is going to sell it. Most sporting goods stores won't even carry it anymore. They would rather carry the substitutes. So if you have a gun shop next to you that specializes in muzzleloaders, and you should Google to find out, you can get powder there. If not, you'll have to buy it online, and I recommend Graf's and Sons. That's where I get mine. So I'll put a link down below so you can get there. Now, there are a couple of things that you need to know about powder and your gun to be able to load it, and we're going to tackle those one at a time. All right, black powder comes in different granulations, and those granulations get expressed as Fs. So the more Fs you have, the finer the powder is. And fine powder works better in smaller calibers, and coarser powder works better in larger calibers. So these are the three calibers that you are likely to have your gun chambered in: 45, 50, and 54. And here's the granulation of powder I recommend you buy, whether it's Swiss or GoX, for that caliber. So for 45 caliber, 3F. Pardon me, 50 caliber, also 3F, and 54 caliber, I recommend you get 2F. Now, you can prime your flintlock with the same powder you're using in your main charge, but you'll get better performance if you use actual priming powder, and that's finer than the powder you're using in your main charge. It's a 4FG powder, and a pound of that will last you most of your life. All right, so how much powder should you load in your gun? Well, to find out the proper answer for that, you're going to need to experiment a little bit, and you're going to need to try different charges of powder to see which ones group the best. But I'm going to give you a rule of thumb that'll keep you from blowing up your gun and give you a place to start, and that is, for every increment of caliber, your starting powder charge should be 1 grain of that. So if it's a 45 caliber gun, you want 45 grains of 3FG powder. If it's a 50 caliber gun, you want to start with 50 grains of 3FG powder. And if it's a 54 caliber gun, start with 55 grains of 2FG powder. Pretty simple. Those powder charges, they may end up being the most accurate for you. They probably won't be. But I guarantee you won't blow up your gun and then just go up by 5 grains at a time, trying different loads to see what groups best for you. All right, in order to accurately dispense that powder charge, you're going to need a you're going to need a powder measure, and they look like this. I'm holding one in my hand right here. It's got a sliding scale that you lock in. You set it to the amount of powder you want to dispense, pour it in from the can, and then go with the measure and put that in your barrel, and you're good to go, right? But you need to pick up one of these. All the things I'm telling you about, except for powder, right? Powder you're going to get from Graf's. Everything else, go to Track of the Wolf online. You'll be able to find everything you need there, and I'm going to put a link down below. But you'll be able to find balls, patches, powder measure, any of the gear you might want to get. They're a full-service muzzleloading shop, and they're excellent. So let's talk about balls. So what size balls are you going to use? Well, the rule of thumb is whatever caliber your gun is, mine's a 45, right? You're going to go 1/100 of an inch lower than that. Okay, so just to sum that up, if you've got a 45 caliber rifle, you want to use a ball that's 0.440 inches in diameter. If you've got a 50 caliber rifle, you're going to use a 0.490 ball. And if you've got a 54, you're going to use a 0.530 inches ball, right? So, very simple. Well, from balls, that brings us to patching. You can go out to Joann Fabric and buy a yard of pillow ticking, and it'll probably do you just fine. Just wash it to take the sizing out of it. But actually, you can buy already cut patches, and I find those to be a great convenience, and you can get some quality control on the thickness of them by doing that. I find that 0.018 inch thick patches have done me just about perfectly in almost every gun I've ever had. So I would start there. They come in other sizes, and if this doesn't work out for some reason, well, you can go another way. But I recommend you start here, unless you have a gun made by Pedersoli. If your rifle's made by Pedersoli, these patches will probably be too thick. And you should try a patch that is 0.010 inches thick. Okay, a thin patch is usually needed on Pedersoli guns. All right, so we're going to be loading that patch wrapped around a ball. Basically, you put it on the muzzle, put the ball on top of it, send it down. You don't want to do that dry, it'll get stuck. You want to lubricate that patch material, and I recommend you use mink oil. It works fantastic. It's easily found. You can get it on Amazon or a variety of places as a leather lubricant and preservative. So that's what I recommend you use. But if you don't want to spend any money at all, there is one way you can go. As I said, there is a lube that is 100% free, completely natural, and it does the job. And that is spit. Good old spit. So with a spit patch, you just take your patch, put it in your mouth, marinate it in your juices, put the powder in, patch, ball, load it, you're good to go. That's everything you need to make your gun go bang. So let me take you through the actual loading procedure now. All right, so I'm going to start by filling my powder measure with 55 grains of 3FG Swiss black powder. All right, now I've got my patch. I lubed it in lamb's tallow. Put a ball on it. Send it down with a short starter. Then draw out my ramrod. I'm so close to the camera, I whacked it with my ramrod and I knocked my microphone off it. Okay, so, whoops, wrong end of the ramrod. Send it down and get a good bump. There we go. I'm going to put the gun on half cock. I'm going to take a vent pick. Okay, it's just a piece of wire. I'm going to make sure that I am unobstructed. I'm going to pick the vent hole and make sure it's clear. Now, I'm using a primer, but I could do this from the horn, but I've got Null B in here, which is priming powder. Right, so I'm going to put it in the pan. Okay, so if you can see that, priming's in the pan. Close the frizzen. Take my mark. And now we're ready to shoot. And we got them. All right, it's as simple as that. If you found this helpful, but you'd like a more in-depth coverage of the same topic, I'm going to direct you to my beginner's guide to flintlock rifle shooting video, part 2, which covers everything that we just went through here, but in a lot more detail. So, you just got the bare bones here. If you want to see a little bit more, I'll put the link down below to take you to this video. That'll give you a bit more detail to hang around the bones.